Okay, welcome to your Life Atelier podcast with me, Emma Lavelle, your host. And this episode is a very special one because, as I said to my email list yesterday, it is a closing the gap moment. Now, there's a video that I have shared and will continue to share with my community, with email lists, podcasts, with all of you, which is called The Gap. And I'll put a link to it under this episode. It's by Ira Glass. And essentially, when he talks about the gap, he's saying that whoever you are, whatever you're trying to create, whether you're a writer, but we can apply this to business, we can apply this to relationships, to communication, to anything at all. I love it so much. There is a reason you get started, right? And it's because you have this vision in your head of something that you want to create. And he talks about it as your taste. And he says, like, you have like killer taste, you've got amazing taste, right? There is something that you've seen that has inspired you and that you also want to do yourself. The problem is where you are now to where you want to go, there is a gap, okay? And what we want to do is keep creating, keep doing while we close that gap because we learn in the doing. Now, I first saw this video, years ago, and it's one that I refer back to again and again. And I had this vision in my head for the Life Atelier when I first started it as being like this online studio, and there would be, it would be a sanctuary and it would be a place that people went to feel calm, and that they would be able to find resources to help them to feel strong, resources to help them get inspired, to get motivated, resources to connect with people, and that it would be on an app so that people could get away from their screens. They could listen to the trainings while they were walking in the forest, or if they didn't have a forest, which I didn't have a forest at the time, then, well, I've had a forest for like 3 years now. I've been next to a forest. Not relevant. I was about to give you a list of like the forests and how far away I've been from them for the last 3 years, to be like brutally honest, but not important for this point. Anyway, the point was I wanted you to be able to learn on the go and to be able to have a foundation that you would then start building your own toolkit from to create an amazing life from whatever point you are at. Right, I've shared on the page that has information about the Life Atelier that when I first started to create it, my life was literally crumbling around me. I was in a house that was a failed renovation. My relationship had crumbled. Like, I think the way I described it is like a rich tea biscuit sort of crumbling pathetically into a cup of tea. Like, I still have so much love and respect for my ex-boyfriend. We like each other as people very much, but there wasn't a lot of like life force holding our relationship together for the last year or so. So yeah, crumbling, a lot of crumbling, and my finances were crumbled, right? They were a mess. I couldn't earn money in the renovation. We had really bad internet. The electricity kept going off and then not getting repaired for like 3 days. And I was working online, so obviously you can imagine. And it just felt really scary. Life felt really, really scary. And I was looking around at different solutions and for help. And I didn't have money to pay for, big expensive courses. And in fact, I'd spent money on big expensive courses that had promised to help me, get magical results, and they hadn't, or I wasn't in the right place or whatever. So I turned to podcasts. I would listen to a podcast and then implement it. I would think about what tools did I already have and how could I use them, and really started to take these like baby steps and to start to enjoy the moment, right? And I've got videos. I started to record these videos talking about where I was every couple of weeks or a few months to do updates. So I will share those at some point, but when I feel the story is at a more concrete point and when I feel ready to, but they are there and they are really interesting. So here's what we've done in the Life Atelier. And this is the reason I'm talking about the gap is last weekend, I got locked out of my platform. I got locked out of my website. Like, I just got locked out. I couldn't get in. And so instead of panicking and staying online to get everything back online for the next 24 hours and like calling Apple and calling Squarespace and doing, the things that I'd done previously, I decided like, okay, let's go all in. Like, what do I preach, right? How do I coach? What am I teaching people about balance, about finding joy, about falling in love with life, about connection? So I decided to just like, close my laptop. I went out for brunch, hosted 15 amazing women for brunch in the center of Toulouse. I went to IKEA. I had another solo IKEA trip and it was great. I got some things for my apartment to just make it feel a bit more of a permanent home for me and Rita rather than feeling like a kind of transition point between now and the next place. And I let myself just think about, okay, let's say everything gets lost. Let's say the platform gets killed. It's very brutal, but let's say everything disappears. What do I want to do? I let myself start my business again from scratch. What do I want to do? Okay. And what I realized was that it would be absolutely fine because I have all of the tools that I teach in my head because I'm using them. I'm using them every day. They're there. I'm not relying on notebooks and pieces of paper the way that I was in the beginning, right? They're all there. And in fact, it would be this brilliant opportunity to demonstrate how I could start the business again and how I could set it up week by week, minimally, beautifully, on my terms. So, with that in my head, on Monday morning, I opened my laptop and I got everything back online in about 10 minutes. So I didn't have to start the business again from scratch. But I had this like gap filling that had happened in my head of, okay, when I'm thinking about our Life Atelier members and for the points in life that they're at, and also for me, right? Life still keeps lifing. On Thursday night, Rita got attacked by another dog, and I had to separate two massive fighting dogs. Really scary, really dangerous. She got injured. There was blood, mud everywhere. It was not a pleasant experience. And I was able to get through that, to get home, to manage the situation, to get support, to work with my nervous system to process like all the adrenaline that had come up, all of the stress, so that the next day I was able to have a recovery point that was much higher than where it would have been starting from without my coaching tools. So again, just to come back to, and I was having conversations with people, members inside the Life Atelier, asking them, how are you using this? What's actually working? What are the most useful things? So I thought about that on a very practical level, and I looked again at what we have inside there, and I decided, like, let's break this down, okay? Let's look at when you enter the Life Atelier, you go into the app, you go into the studio, how do you want to use it, right? So first of all, I started with days. Right? How are we going to structure your days? So that's the coaching model, which I'm going to talk about today. Dream, decide, do. Then weeks. What are the rituals that you need to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success? So we've got a little training on your week and how to prioritize rest and creativity and flow on a Monday so that you're able to then evaluate and look at that on a Friday. Months. You might be just joining this podcast for the first time, but I structure my work week so that I have an adventure every month. I take the last week of every month off completely. I work the first 3 weeks, and I work 4 days a week: Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday is do whatever the fuck I like day. And that might mean I work. Sometimes what I want to do is I want to work, but it also means that if I don't want to work and I want to go and visit and do things, next week I've organized like a coffee and a walk for a group that I run on a Wednesday. I know where my anchors are of space. And that's really important because, again, if you're experiencing turbulence in life, let's say that your dog gets into a fight with another dog on a Thursday night, and then like, okay, so I've just got 4 hours to reschedule on Friday or to cancel if I want to, and then I've got my free points again. It just makes makes it feel more manageable. You've got these small little chunks. You've got spaces to move things to if you do want to move them to. You've got the support systems to cancel things where people understand why you're canceling them if you want to, right? And you've also got that self-trust of, actually, no, I'm good. Like I do want to work, even though Something has happened because I've checked in with myself and I know that I actually feel okay and I want to do this, right? So it's not about creating these strict, rigid rules. It's about a workspace where you've got tools to apply to your life, what you want, and how you want to experience your life while you're in it. Not looking back and thinking, oh, I wish I'd partied more. Oh, I wish I'd had more sex. I wish I'd done this. I wish I told that person what I thought, right? We want you to be in your life, living your life, not having regrets. Not, like one thing that I think about is when I was living in Australia, I was just working. I just worked because before I went to Australia, I was saving money to go to Australia. When I was in Australia, I was saving money to go to Spain. So when I talk to other people about their time in Australia and all the traveling they did, the festivals they went to, I don't actually have a comparison for that because what did I do? I did what I'd been doing beforehand. I just worked and worked and worked. So we want to really start to look at how can we fall in love with life today, where we are, with all the grisly, messy bits, so that as we start to create the things that we love, we're still present. We're able to really, really appreciate them because we're already in the habit of appreciating instead of having that sensation of just doing what we've always been doing, but with different surroundings around us, right? I'll give you a classic example of this. I had a client who was like so wealthy. I don't know if he's a billionaire, but millionaire, millionaire, millionaire. And we were talking about fragrance and about clothes. And I thought, and his fragrance cost like $1,000. Whereas mine, Joe Malone, I thought I was pushing the boat out with Joe Malone. And I said to him, do you use different scents to associate with your different experiences? Like if you're going to do something scary, do you have a particular smell that you use? Because I love to use scent to kind of increase associations with different moments and to help reinforce memories and I use it in lots of different ways. And he said, like, no, I just take whatever's there. Like, I don't have time. I don't have time to look at the scents. I don't have time to do this. And I just realized, like, wow, this is what will happen. Unless we have this practice right now of noticing what's delicious, what's lovely, what's beautiful, what do we want to remember, then as we are moving forward, we won't notice what we have. We won't have that practice of it. Really important. So I'm going to run through the model, the Life Atelier coaching model, really quickly, because I just want to give you an overview. Now, if you are already inside the coaching studio, this is going to get released from tomorrow, Monday the 20th. You might not be watching this podcast until Wednesday because I'm starting a new schedule with our emails and podcasts and all of those things. But if you are already a member, you will already be in this course. If you become a member, you'll have access to the course immediately, okay? And you can become a member now from, I think, 29 euros a month. I have made this as accessible as the Emma that was in the crumbling house needed it to be, okay? So, bless her. But she kept going, and that's why I'm here. Okay, so this coaching model, I'll give you the overview, and then with our podcast episodes over the next few weeks, each Wednesday, I'll dive into one of the parts of it to give you a bit more of the background and how to implement it. And then obviously, if you want to just use it immediately, you can go and you can join and sign up and you'll get that course. So there's 3 parts to it: dream, decide, do. And the way the model works is you can run through, there's a question for each part, okay? There's a question or an action. So you've got 9 questions or actions in total. They don't take time, okay? One of them is just literally closing your eyes and taking a breath, okay? But I wanted to really put it in a very granular way because I want you to see what might be missing. So I hear so often people saying, I just need to do it. Like basically, I just need to do it. Right, that's great. I know what the problem is. I just need to do it. And I know they're not going to do it, okay? Because that sentence, just going to do it, I just need to do it, is in a hectoring tone. It is, pull your finger out, you can just do it. Now, that tone and that voice will have been present in the past. Whether you were telling yourself, "Oh, I just need to get on with it, I just need to do it, I just need to stop being silly, I just need to blah, 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 blah," right? That tone creates a sensation in your body of feeling contractive. I don't know. I make no apologies for my weird language because I'm currently learning French and Spanish at the same time, which is mixing with my English. So sorry, not sorry. So when we have these feelings, it can be very like, right? And we can feel like we're in trouble or we're doing things wrong. And then we don't want to make mistakes. So what I want you to see is that just do it. The other side of that is a tightening in your body. And when we've got the tightening in our body, we're closing down our creativity and our capacity for problem solving. So instead, what we want to do is increase our capacity for problem solving and increase our capacity for innovation, for risk taking, for experimentation, for evaluation, all these good things, right? So dream, 3 parts. And the reason we start with dreaming is because our brains have an 80% negativity bias, and most of us have been socialized to only allow ourselves to expect a certain level of something. People like us only blah, blah, blah. Or people with accents like mine, you don't see them on television, you don't hear them on podcasts. Or people who look like me don't have these kinds of opportunities. So what we want to see is the only reason for that is because of other people saying so, or it's structural things. That does not mean you can't do it. So it means we want to practice noticing, I'm probably underselling myself on what I can do. And that can look like, I mean, really extreme examples, moving to another country where there are more opportunities and it's easier if you don't feel like fighting that battle in your own country. It might look like working in a certain job that you don't enjoy, but you know that additional financial resources will help you to get you where you want to go, right? So I'm not saying that you just dream and then it happens, but it's about noticing you're probably have already turned down the dial or had the dial turned down for you on what you think is possible for yourself. So let's practice dreaming so that we can start to get to a higher level as a base level, which I would say is step 1, get to neutral. Okay. So we want to rebalance that 80% negativity bias by getting to neutral. And that can be as simple as just noticing, like, okay, there's the 80% negativity bias. What would someone else say? Okay, right. Now I'm at neutral. Number 2, step 2 of dream, is ask, what do you want? I recommend asking this out loud, again, so that you can notice in your body, right? And this is something really fun. Again, I'll go into more about how to practice how to do this, but we can just start with a simple, if you're planning your day, what do I want? It might be, right, I want to have a successful meeting. I want to make a sale. I want to go to my yoga class this evening instead of working. I want to have that conversation with my husband and explain how I'm feeling. I want to go to sleep at 10 p.m. So we can just say that out loud. What do I want? Number 3, assess the belief gap. So again, if we come back to that gap that I talked about at the start, between where you want to be and where you are, there is a gap in how much you believe you can do it. We know there's a gap, or you would have already done it. Okay, so the gap between me going to the yoga studio at the end of the day and where I am right now, not going to the yoga studio, might be, oh, I think I've got too much work to do, or the dog needs a longer walk, or there's going to be bad traffic, or, okay? So we just notice that, we just assess it, right? You don't need to do anything about it right now. You just need to notice like, oh yeah, I really don't think I can do that, okay? Step 2, decide. Now, you've probably seen dream, plan, do in many, many places. What we're doing is dream, decide, and do. The difference between a plan and a decision, for me, it will be different for everyone, but for me, a decision is commitment, an action step, okay? A plan is giving responsibility to the plan. So what happens is we think a plan is going to create our result. So then instead of doing something and getting data, we sit in the lovely safety of making the plan, okay? And I did this when I was 18, preparing for my exams. I would spend every Saturday and Sunday creating the perfect study plan, and it got closer and closer and closer to the exams. I didn't study. I literally didn't study. So great fun. Okay, so we want to say decision, right? Dream, decide. Now, when we decide, again, 3 steps. Number 1, connect with your future self. Okay, what this does is it just pulls us out of the bullshit. Okay, when we are honest and we have a good relationship with our future selves, and we think about, okay, us on Friday, us this evening. I even think about it if you're trying to change your relationship with alcohol, right? Or sleep. If you think about your future self and you think about you tomorrow before you have that glass of wine, you will know, is she going to thank me for this? Or am I screwing her over? I think I'm screwing her over. It can be in the day. I do this like quick decision when, like, even today, I was like, well, I'll have a second coffee. I'll have a second coffee because I'm going to do like all my marketing in 90 minutes. So it'll be nice to have a second coffee. And I just quickly closed my eyes and I thought about me doing this, me now. And I thought, oh no, she'll be jittery. We know this. We have enough evidence for this. 2 coffees is never a good idea for me. So for my future self, I made an Earl Grey. Right? So connect with our future self, create commitment. Again, if we don't have a result, it means we weren't committed to it, right? I just think about, my dog when she has a stick and she's decided to bring the stick home. She will encounter many, 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 many obstacles along the way, but she will navigate each obstacle because she is committed to carrying that stick up to the car. She doesn't even worry about getting it in the car because quite often she's not allowed to put it in the car because of like physical logistics, but she is committed to getting it to the car. 3, clear space. So if you've got 20 things on your to-do list, but you've decided that there is one result, we clear it just while we work on the task, okay? It might be that you want to clear some emotional, energetic space. You want to set a boundary. It might be you want to clear your workspace. There's always space to clear. The third part, very important, of the Life Atelier self-coaching model is doing. Now, there are, again, 3 steps to this. So the first is pre-balance your energy. Think about that example that I just gave. I knew that I wanted to try and do, it's an experiment, it's a hypothesis, I don't know if I'll do it, but I wanted to do a week's worth of marketing in 90 minutes today. So this morning, I've already walked the dog and had a coffee while I walked her. I've done an amazing 30 minutes of fire yoga. I've had the best shower, moisturized, done my nails, like I've had a nice call with my coach, and I've really looked at all the ways that I can like bring up my energy levels before I start these 90 minutes so that I am focused, I am present, I am here in these 90 minutes. After that, I'm going to take the dog for another walk. Okay, I already know what I'm going to cook for food because there is a part of me in the past that would say like, yeah, glass of wine and pizza. That's how I'll treat myself. But I know that will actually drain me. That's not what I want to do because I want to do this again tomorrow. So actually tonight I want to be asleep and in bed by 10 p.m. because I want to create this balanced energy and this renewable productivity. So pre-balance our energy, then take intentional action. How will you know that you've achieved success or you failed with your experiment? How will you evaluate? We want to decide how we'll evaluate before we do the thing. Otherwise, we are not in a neutral place. We go straight to negativity bias, self-criticism, judgment. So we decide ahead of time how we will evaluate for when we're feeling a bit raw later. And then after we've done the thing, we are celebrating to evaluate. So again, celebrate. We want to celebrate because we want to get back to neutral before we do our evaluation, before we then decide how we'll implement that. And you can literally then go back and repeat, okay? So it's then coming back to dream, decide, do. Dream, decide, do. And what you'll learn when you start to use this model is that it's going to be woven throughout your day. So you can start by planning it out in the morning and you can put the different points, but eventually you won't even need to write them down because you'll just be doing it intuitively. Or if you notice that you're currently in a situation where there's something you don't like, something isn't working, you can go back through this and you can think, am I dreaming too little? Like, are my expectations too low? Am I not excited enough about this? Is it that I haven't got enough commitment to the thing? Am I not managing my energy levels? I'm not pre-balancing them. Is it that I'm not celebrating before I evaluate? So I'm not noticing where I'm creating success so that I can repeat that, as well as where I'm failing? Am I just focusing on the failures? So I'm constantly problem solving instead of noticing what's working so that I can just do more of that. So, gorgeous, beautiful, lovely people, I will see you on the next podcast episode where we'll start to dive into these separate components a bit more. If you are interested in becoming a member of the Life Atelier, then go to the website or click the link under, around, over, or send me a DM on Instagram or email me hello@emmalavelle.co.